I got something here for you. I know I've said this before, but what haven't I said on this channel before? Shut the fuck up. I'm sure you're sick of me even saying I've said this on this channel before and then qualifying it with what have you said it before. Whatever, I'm a product of my generation. Everything has to be masked in a layer of irony so no one really enjoys anything anymore. And we just have this normal humdrum of this so that everybody kind of doesn't have enough ammunition to pay you out anymore. You know the drill. You're part of it. You know that it's there. Fuck, that got pretty real with 26 seconds in. But anyway, we are going to be talking about story. The reason we are talking about story is because that is how your brain works. The reason that I'm talking about that is I have just been listening to a bunch of academics at the moment. Can you guess what it's in? Yeah, that's right. It was the Byzantines. Whatever. Big whoop you want to fight about it. And I realised the reason I am known for talking about heady things, even though I'm a dumbass in comparison to those people. But the thing that I think that I have naturally picked up, and I think it is a result of having a theatrical training and also just reading a bunch of books on communication. This is naturally embedded into me. You want to know what it is? Of course you fucking want to know what it is, don't you? Yeah, what a flex. This is an intellectual flex. I know stuff you don't, and I'm smarter than academics, dude. No, but I'm obviously not smarter than academics. I already said I'm not smarter than academics. Fuck you, stop making me qualify myself, Gen Y. I think that the thing is that I've figured out why that listening to an academic is so unengaging and so boring, and it comes down to this. Story. They don't understand that you are supposed to start something with a beginning and finish it with an end. Even something like that. They can't get through their stupid egg heads tapping it with a spoon. Hello, me head crack. They aren't able to fathom that, hey, people just want to have a narrative. And they are not going to learn all of these little tidbits that you spent your entire life nerdily looking into of, I read something about Constantinus Antoninus. Would you like to hear that? But also there's another source to take something out. People's brains don't work like that. People's brains do not work as, here's a little piece of grey area, here's another little piece of grey area, here's all this nuance that confuses all of that grey area. Even me talking about it, your brain goes, shut up. Doesn't want to hear it. You know what it does want to hear? Once there was a man, and he was a great man. And you know what? He came across a bad man. And then the real action ensued. Nicerius Focus is a Byzantine Emperor. Wow, what a sick name for a movie. What a half-assed title, eh? Even I'm not going to see that film, but I'm obsessed with them. I'm going to, look, what we're going to be talking about instead of me just yelling at you like an ape. We're going to be doing some of that, by the way, so stay tuned. But I just want to quickly just check my notes, but I was talking about the 7 elements of a story, and once I say them, you won't be able to unsee them. But it is good for you to understand that this is essentially the building blocks of how the brain wants to be communicated to, because this is essentially every story ever. And this is really what your brain is doing when it is interpreting reality. That is why stories are written in this general way every time. Let's go through the first one, shall we? All right, so basically there's something that is, first off, it's established that something is driving the character. Let's use Star Wars, because it's something really easy to remember, right? Not the fucking new ones or the new ones, but the 70s ones that were still a rip-off of Dune and then just chucked in a bunch of Sesame Street Muppets. But hey, it was fun. Here's another one as well. Didn't have a bunch of SJW shit that made it extremely lame. That was somebody who's wearing like a puffy shirt. But anyway, look, yes, all right. Hey, pay attention to me. Don't click off. Make sure that you sign up to Jordan Shanks. But yes, all right, so the first one is that they have a driving force behind them. So what was Luke Skywalker's driving force? The force was, oh, wow, Jesus, fuck. We're already into some deep Inception shit there, aren't we? Oh, there's a reference that nobody uses anymore. Look, he wanted to go off planet. He wanted to go off planet and see the world. He was sick and tired of just working in his bloody junkyard ship or whatever it was. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. Probably should have picked a different movie. But the point is that he had a driving force there of just being like, oh, yeah, get off this stupid planet. Remember that? Then, first off, then there's obviously a problem that the character isn't fulfilling. And yet the character usually focuses on his or her desire and not the real need. But in order for it to be fulfilled, the character must develop beliefs and values along the way. Okay, so really what is happening there is he wants to get off the planet because he wants to see the world, as that is what he thinks that he wants to do. But really, what Luke Skywalker is missing in life is purpose, to fulfill something greater. And along the way, he is able to fill that desire. If you are able to fulfill your purpose, then you're able to fulfill your desire. A lot of stories are like that. A lot of my videos are like that. And it is because this is how the human brain wants to process reality. The human brain wants to process that it has meaning. It likes making meaning, especially out of random things. This is why conspiracy works so much. Not that I like conspiracies a lot, actually, frankly. Don't you? Yes, you do, because you've got a human brain as well. Maybe there's some guy out there just in some tank with those alien eyes and the brain be like, blah, 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 and those bubbles meant what a fool. But most of us can relate. And then the next one, has a desire, that's the first step, but that desire is masking something else, which is a deep need that they have to fulfill. That's the second one. So they discover that at some point, that, I wanted to go off planet because I felt like my life didn't have any meaning working on the junkyard. That's what was driving me to fall off the planet. Because as we all know, it was based in 1600s ADs. Then what usually comes along when they are feeling this, and this is the whole point of character development, and this is something that I want you to perceive your reality as, every time you are facing a problem in life, you can dissect it into these 3 points. The first point is that, these are all enemies, right? The first is internal, the second is intimate, and the third is external. So you want to write those down? You actually should write these down. Because you should be figuring out what these are at every point in your life. Write it down, get your notepad out, do this. Put up first, internal, your first demon that you must slay is internal, the second one will be intimate, and then the third will be external. So, it should be in reverse, but you can do that in your own time. Let's move on with this train. What's happening in Luke Skywalker's? The first one, obviously, let's just move back. External. External is the Empire, obviously. He knows that he needs to fight the Empire because the Empire is evil. It is very obvious by the fact that a lot of them are wearing dark uniforms. That's why they're bad. Okay? Then the second one, God, it's a kid's film. The second one is the intimate foe, which is, obviously, I am your father. No! He doesn't like the fact that his father works for the Empire. And the internal one is that he sees that he could very easily turn into his dad. It gets profound when you get to that point. And there's sort of a direct reflection in it. So really the message that's happening there is, I could have very easily been part of the Empire, and as such I must aspire to work for something greater. Yeah, so really it's this idea that if you go along with the flow in life, you will become the tool of tyranny, which is actually a really good thing that they were pumping into people's minds, even though it clearly didn't work and most people were just like, not like Yoda. But that's what's happening there. That you go along with everything, and then you become that. You have to develop a higher ideal, a higher purpose. That's what's happening there. Anyway, you should be writing those down, and you should be figuring those out in your own time. What currently in your life at the moment, because remember, this is how the brain likes to process reality, so we are trying to give it the map that it wants to see the world through. What is your external, what is your intimate, and what are your internal opponents at the moment? Then we'll be moving on to cheat sheet. Character develop a plan to deal with the opponent. This is obviously when he is, facing the tree with Yoda, and then he realizes that his biggest fear is himself. That's where you develop a plan. That's what we're talking about here. That's why when you figure out what your internal, external opponents are, that is going in that tree of knowledge, really. Jesus, this one's actually surprisingly more deep than I thought it would be. But, obviously, there is a reason that stories have been around since caveman times. Think about it. The character usually experiences his or her own mortality and searches for meaning through the battle. Well, that's why everybody always says that when they are faced with death, their life changes, and then they realise, oh, okay, these things are important. It's actually something that people do when they take shrooms a lot. Not that I'm recommending that you do it, kiddies, until you get to a point where you're extremely successful, and then you start thinking, now what? Then you can do it. But no, not when you're fucking in your 20s. I'll tell you exactly what you should be doing in your 20s. Read a goddamn book. How do you like that? But yes, every time you are ever faced with your mortality, then you, like, everything comes clear and in perspective. It's all of those things, you know, like a lot of this channel as well is just trying to get the things that are just like on the back of your mind, boiling there, defragging them and saying, yeah, that one's important, focus on that, and no, that one isn't. That one kind of just naturally takes itself, but that's the whole thing, right? Like that every time you have one of these life-changing experiences, it's because all of a sudden the way that you were going through life is suddenly confronted. And then you have to come up with a whole new way of facing life. I don't really know how that you can do that in a manufactured way. If you guys have actually suggestions in the comments, maybe over to you. Number 6, the character experiences self-revelation, fulfillment of his desires, needs. And self-revelation can be the form of new beliefs and values and new character traits. Yes. So, after they face that, then all of a sudden they are faced with their needs being met. Because they've developed a plan, they've tested it in the real world, it didn't work in the way that they thought it would work, but what happened is they reached within, they got the resources that they had, and then all of a sudden they've reached their needs. And this is the points in Star Wars when he's got the, you know, they're like, use the Force, Luke. He's kind of going within. And he's able to go within when there is those high-pressure situations, when he's really tested, when it all comes down to all or nothing, the entire fate of the universe rests on this man's shoulders. At that point, he realizes, oh, I should just go for his legs. But this is the whole point, right? Like, I suppose what's great about Star Wars is that it is just such a simple storytell. Like, obviously, you know, they've put a lot into the visuals of keeping people's attentions, but it's kept to this very, very succinctly. And as a result, has been successful because it's kind of just like, hey, is this the way that your brain likes seeing things? There you go. It clarifies how the world works for you, yeah? And so, anyway, that's the point. And I think that that's what we all know, that like a lot of life is just pretty much just about training, testing it out. That didn't work. But actually in the process of training and testing it out and it not working, I came across something else in my life that actually fulfills my needs in a better way. I feel like that's exactly what happened to me. Like I had all these goals, and I'm always saying this, that you should be writing down your goals. But what happens is you relentlessly pursue it, you get all these knockbacks, and then all of a sudden you see this door that you never saw before, and then, holy fuck, you know? That's what happens in life. All right, then, the 7th one. Because it's kind of just like, you have decided to become the hero of your life, I guess. And when you are doing that, you figure out, oh, okay, there's more than just this desire that I was trying to fill. Actually, the world needs this. And then you're able to slot your way in there. And I think that most people don't even take up the challenge of this story script to begin with. The general skeleton outline. They don't even finish on I got to get off the home planet. They just sit around on the home planet. And then the 7th one is the character develops a new belief system, new values, and then the character's needs are fulfilled. And that's just the point where, you know, he's just celebrating at the end, and all of a sudden he is wise and he has more of a developed understanding of the world, and obviously is a master Jedi. And a lot of that is sort of just like, okay, he's figured out like, hey, all I needed all along was the Force. I was trying to think of something like family or something. I was like, no, that's right, he killed his dad. But yeah. Then you start walking through life with that deep understanding within you. That is the process. Really what is happening in stories is the process of transformation. That's what's going on there. And I want you to understand that you are you Luke Skywalker of your life, and that at all stages of your life you are at one of those stages. But then as soon as you stop, you should be moving on to the next challenge. Every story at its core, when you analyze it, it's about solving problems. It's about the transition of who you become in the process of solving that problem. And that is because that is how the human brain interprets reality, of what it must do to thrive, I suppose. But actually, if you think about it, it's sort of evolutionary as well, because I suppose what animals are doing really is just solving a lot of problems all the time. I'm hungry, I need flies. Same thing. Same thing. Obviously, this has helped a lot, because what we're saying here is that you set out goals and that kind of gets you there. I want to get off the planet. That's the first point to this. But anyway, I suggest that you go back, you write down those 7 story points that we just went through. Basically, let's just go into a quick summary of it. It is that you have a desire, you understand what the real problems are, one second, I'm just going to write this down again. Then you figure out who your you figure out what the things that are stopping you from developing that is. So those are your internal, external, and intimate opponent. Then the character develops, then you figure out, okay, this is how I'm going to try and do it. Then you face that person, and then you get actual feedback of, okay, this is working and this isn't working. Then you have the realization of, oh, okay, actually, this is the way that I've developed. And then you have, it goes from a knowing to an understanding. You just walk through the world that way. That's every story ever told, in a nutshell. Probably there's some counter arguments to some dickhead film students who be like, actually, there's such a thing as an anti-story. Shut the fuck up. Give me money at jordanshanks.com. If you like that, if you found that clarifying, and I know that you did, there is plenty more of that online. And as people said, I'm going to stop saying coffee from now on because petrol's so goddamn expensive these days, that I could say that for the same price as a couple of litres of petrol, you will be able to get infinite wisdom. And I'm going to build you up to become a goddamn Luke Skywalker, damn it. I will. I will get you every dream that you want and more. And the and more is developing you into the person that is, capable of moving further than the dream that you wanted. Further than your wildest dreams. That's what I'm promising for a few bucks a week. Make sure that you sign up. I've got shows at Perth as well. You can go to them if you want.